Today we're going to be going over our Colline SaaS platform and how it can help reduce IT cost. We'll take about 30-40 minutes for this presentation. We'll leave some time for Q&A at the end. If you have questions, just ask them when they come to mind so you don't forget them, but I'll just be steaming ahead. We'll take the questions at the end. And of course, if there's any follow-up or questions that aren't maybe so simple to answer, just get in touch with myself or the meeting organizers. And in fact, we'll even be reaching out to get your impact. So the story all started, believe it or not, 6 years ago. I think the latest iPhone from Apple was the iPhone 5. I'm actually an Android guy, but for the benefit of you others, there was a football World Cup where, of course, Germany taught the rest of the world the meaning of Schadenfreude as they destroyed Brazil. Maybe not if you're not Brazilian. We landed on a comet and we launched Colline on the cloud. This is back in 2014. I think that makes us the first collateral management provider on the cloud, despite what you might hear. And this was really a managed service offering, which we provided with our friends at AWS, our partners at AWS. A managed service offering where we were targeting our smaller customers, really, buy-side firms perhaps. And what do we mean by a managed service offering? It means you get, obviously, Colline, our software. You get servers, the infrastructure provided for you, or by us on behalf of AWS. You provide patching, so you don't need to patch anything. All of that's provided as part of a managed service, so that's patching for your operating system, Java, etc. Security, so we developed our managed service with AWS to meet their well-architected review and other guidelines, took care of encryption at rest, encryption in transit, all those other things to alleviate our customers from having to think about that sort of stuff. Licenses, not a problem for our customers. We took that cost. That's licenses of the database, operating system again. Backups, fully managed service means fully managing all the backups and potential restoration, trial restorations, business continuity, all of that taken care of at disaster recovery using the things provided to us by AWS again, and of course all the audit. All of that was our managed service that's been around for 6 years, as I said. But this webinar is about something new, really. We've been speaking to a lot of our customers. We've picked up a lot of themes, and now it's not just something that our smaller customers are interested in. It's something that our larger customers, indeed all of our customers, are quite interested in. So we've responded to that, and this webinar is really to explain our kind of next generation offering, I suppose, building on the our experience of managing these managed environments of Colline, but providing something that's a bit different and a bit new. First of all, let's speak about some industry trends. These are trends that we find at VERMEG. I hope that you're finding them too. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're an exception. But this is what we find by speaking to our family of customers, not just in the collateral management world, but of course, VERMEG does a lot of other things. We follow a lot of industry events. Trends that we find is that cloud is just a presumption these days. Almost every workload has a kind of a plan to move into the cloud, unless it's probably still on the mainframe. And any new software project already starts with the assumption that you're going to be developing this on the cloud. Maybe the question is which cloud provider or even a private cloud, but it's just a given now. That's led to kind of a supply versus demand problem. This cloudy skills, I suppose. It's difficult to get hold of these skills, recruit them, or to train staff, and a lot of our customers are struggling. They would like to use the cloud. They can see some benefits, but they can't necessarily take advantage of them for lack of their own expertise. Cost constraints, tighter than ever. Perhaps some of us thought that after the financial crisis, which is old news now, we thought that budgets might increase, but it's not happening. IT departments and teams are asked to produce more and more value with less and less budget. We're seeing a lot of IT departments seeking value without embarking on huge projects, so not embarking on huge waterfall transformations. It's more about seeing what you've got, what you can do with what you've got, and building small targeted things to sort of reach between the gaps. And we're seeing a lot of, I guess, a lot of the total business problem has become commodified in different ways. And where it is commodified, people are leveraging as a service platforms and then concentrating on the 20%, 25% of the business problem that's unique to your business and trying to solve that. I think that all of this IT is kind of like a balance sheet. You've got your assets and liabilities, and a lot of these systems are just liabilities that incur interest in the form of operational cost. So you can reduce your balance sheet by moving these workloads onto these as a service platforms. And of course, that's what we're really here to talk about today. So those are the industry trends, and we'll see how. I don't think you're a cynical audience, but I know that you know that we'll see the slide at the end with hopefully some good answers underneath these trends. First of all, let's recap and speak about what we've done in Colline. A lot of you are Colline customers, and you'll be using perhaps versions that are not quite the latest and greatest. So where are we today? So the latest version that's available today is 15.9. We're going to do a 15.10 in a few months towards the end of the year. But that'll be the end of our 15 range, and we'll speak about that in a second. But what have we done in the latest 15s? The first thing is that we've spent a lot of time and effort over the last year and a half to complete our cross-asset class functionality with exchange-traded derivatives, and that's now functionally complete. That's been a huge effort by us. It's really concentrated a lot of our effort onto delivering that in particular. Apart from just the functionality, we've got a very modern stack of prerequisites now. So for example, a lot of customers worried about Oracle's licensing of Java. We were quick to respond to that, supporting OpenJDK 11, and of course, all the latest versions of Oracle database, SQL Server database, etc. Better performance than ever. We have increased a lot of performance, not necessarily by throwing things away and starting again, but by finding a lot of, let's call them, opportunities to improve. The latest versions are faster than the old versions. We set ourselves a goal that we're never slower. New functionality can take a while to tune in, but now we're faster than ever. And of course, we've got more APIs and connectivity options. We'll speak about this in a second, but for example, every single feed today, you might be using files to feed in that data, whether it's trade prices or market data. You don't need to use files anymore these days. All this is available through RESTful APIs. Connectivity options, these include things like tri-party agents and third-party custodians. I'll go into that in a second. But this is just really to catch you up with the baseline of what Colline is today. So now we'll talk about what the future development looks like from this point. So the biggest project for us at VERMEG throughout the course of the year is a brand new user interface. It's a whole new facelift and user interface for Colline. Some of the colors might change from that. That's a real screenshot, by the way, but we might still work on some of the branding. The little icon there, maybe you recognize it, Angular, being quite a widely used front-end framework from Google. This is what we've used. We should finish this by the end of the year. So it will be in the series of Colline after the 15 series. It's not directly related to having a SaaS platform, but it's important, as we'll see for a second, because not sure what you know about Angular, but it's a modern JavaScript-based framework, which essentially turns the browser into a thick client, really, and all of the data that you need for the UI is retrieved through RESTful APIs. So it's required us, almost as a secondary effect, to have to build APIs for everything. So we've got full APIs for everything that you can do through the browser, you can do through the API. These are all RESTful APIs documented under the Open API initiative, which you might know as Swagger, Swagger being the old name. It's been, I don't know, denoted, passed on to the community and been called Open API. So it gives you the opportunity to run clean in a headless way. You can build your own screens. All of these APIs are part of the product. They're just as supported for the product as the UI is. So the UI at this point almost becomes like an optional thing. Of course, we're expecting to use the UI, but the APIs are there for any arbitrary integration needs, build your own dashboards, really, it's all up to you. And this is really what lends Colline to become more of a collateral management engine, if you like. We're also, as part of the SaaS offering on the cloud, wiring in market data. We're talking to a number of different suppliers now. Those discussions are at quite advanced stages now. This will be an option for you. I know that many of you will want to feed your own market data to Colline in the cloud, and that's perfectly fine. But you can always take in another source. Some of you might want to be saved from that burden and just use the market data that we'll be providing, but this will cover all of your FX and security prices, ratings, etc. Our SaaS Cloud will have every customer in its own logically distinct and independent database. So you won't be sharing databases with other of our customers. You'll have your own logically separate and independent database. This is a sort of a promise, a guarantee. And where in the world we can put our SaaS offering is really also down to you. So you can choose that as well. There's 4 sort of illustrative suggestions there that are pretty obvious: the US, the UK, EU, and Singapore. You can choose which one suits your users. There's many of you on this call right now. You might be on the US, you might be in the EU, you might have data locality legislation or regulations to adhere to. So we'll give you that flexibility as well. Another key thing about having a collateral management platform is to have these time box releases. So I mentioned that today Colline is 15.9, with our 15 series has been active for a while now. We'll have a terminal release of the 15 series being 15.10, and starting next year we'll be moving to these YYMM version strategy. I think this will make things easier for you to plan. It gives things a bit more predictability. Time box releases are the way the industry is going. We'll have a certain amount of capacity in each release, and certainly just use that according to what's going to provide our customers with the most value. Some of this stuff has been opened up to us now that we've completed ETD, which was quite a large piece of functionality. Now the first release of 2021 will be 21.1 in January. I've shown some illustrative examples. To be quite honest, we're not too sure if we're going for a 3-monthly or a 4-monthly release cycle. So just this slide is really for illustration. These aren't promises of any way, but we certainly will move to time box releases on a certain cadence. It gives you a bit of predictability for your planning. You might be asking to yourself, if you take Colline SaaS, will you be forced to have upgrades? And that's going to be a question for you, really. For a lot of our larger customers, this is not really a strategy that's going to work. We know it's not going to work, so we won't force upgrades on you. But for smaller customers, maybe you're happy to forego that. It basically means you get a cheaper price from us, to be frank. but we're looking at providing our testing tools to give you assurance that you can take these upgrades smoothly without a huge burden. We know that upgrades is a pain point. Clean upgrades can be quite a painful experience. So we want to take that pain away. Of course, the upgrade itself is all done by us. It's our SaaS platform that we're providing to you. But we obviously have quite a suite of automated testing tools that we use within our own continuous integration pathways with many hundreds, more than 1,000 different test scenarios. We're looking at making that test pack available for customers. We would run it on behalf of customers. We just need to adapt those test packs for your data. It's just the one way that we're trying to make it so that you can always be using the latest and greatest on our platform. It's good for us and it's good for you. So let's suppose that you wanted to take Colline SaaS. There's obviously a migration, but I mentioned that every Colline in our SaaS platform will have its own logically independent database. This means that the migration exercise is really a matter of migrating that database. Not sure if you're aware, but Colline has always been architected so that the application server, the sort of the compute layer, is disposable essentially, and you can always clone a Colline environment by, say, backing up and restoring or otherwise cloning the database and building an entirely new application level server on top. And this is basically the principle behind migrating you to our SaaS service. We would take your database, we would move it to the cloud. We would do all of this within a weekend of downtime, no more than that. We're already developing the tools to make this migration as painless as possible. Of course, we'll need to be involved with your IT teams. It's a partnership and a project on which we'll have to work together. There'll be a certain sort of go, no-go decisions which we'll have to collaborate on, and some testing as well. But in principle, it's actually not that difficult to move your data across into the cloud. I guess the more astute of you will be wondering about the integration and connectivity. Colline is not an island. So we've been thinking about that too. The first principle is that we can take care of if you're using ArcadiaSoft for margin workflow, we can run that in our SaaS platform and take care of all of that connectivity for you, including management of that connectivity. The market data option, this is an option I mentioned, so you might take this option to have market data provided to your Colline in our cloud and alleviate yourself from doing that. That will suit some of you, but not all of you. For the rest of it, it's important to note that all of your existing file formats that you might be providing to Colline or taking from Colline do not change. So if you are currently providing, I don't know, a massive XML or CSV document full of trades every day or many times a day, those formats don't change. If you're taking reports from Colline, you've taken extracts and you have reports that run asset holding reports maybe at multiple times of the day, and you're feeding that data downstream into your systems, those formats don't change. The only thing that changes really is the physical mechanism by which those files are made available or taken from Colline. So it's a very straightforward, should be a very straightforward exercise. Instead of dumping files onto a file server, you'll be dumping files onto a cloud storage, for example, AWS S3. Hopefully a lot of you know that we have built integration to tri-party agents, the major tri-party agents. By integration, I mean we can generate and consume Swift MT messages. We're also working on third-party custodian integration. So you can also have an integration where you can send and receive your Swift messages to Colline on the cloud. We can't run, full disclosure, we can't run your Swift gateway for you. That would require a new BIC address, but we can handle all of the creation and consumption of well-formatted Swift messages. The final thing to note is this part of Colline called the exchanger. Palmyra is one of our business lines at VERMEG. I won't go into great detail about it, but it's our digital transformation toolkit or platform. And within that, there are a number of business and technical components. And one of those technical components is called the exchanger. And it's what we propose to use for Colline. The exchanger's got a very easy to use user interface aimed at sort of non-technical users, where you can manage your message transformations. And this provides a nice way for you to create new flows either out or in from Colline. The key accelerator for Exchanger that makes it different from every other sort of message transformation engine out there on the market is that we have built in the formats for Swift, which we update when they change every year, and built-in formats for Colline, of course, and ISO 20022. And this means that mapping to Colline is an easier thing to do. You can see the Colline format there on the kind of the right-hand side, and it's a matter of dragging and dropping and defining your transformation. So altogether, we're looking at where you might find trouble and trying to alleviate it. And we're also doing some other things to improve the cloud amenability of Colline. And one of them is to support PostgreSQL. This is something that we're doing for selfish reasons, I suppose, to make it cheaper to run Colline in our cloud and a SaaS environment. But if you're not taking SaaS, or you want to move to your own public cloud or your own private cloud, or maybe you do, but you're a few years away, this is something that might interest you. And just for example's sake, it's obviously going to save you a lot of money. So for those of you who are not quite aware of the ballpark figures here, if you take a database of 16 virtual CPUs, 128 gigabytes of RAM, half a terabyte storage, the Oracle license is about $83,600 per annum, and that's for support. The initial license fee, of course, is I think generally about 4.5 times that figure. I guess you've paid your initial license fee though, so I've not added that to the cost comparison. And of course, you need to have Oracle DBAs and Oracle support staff. Compare that to Postgres, and we're looking far less. These numbers I've taken from AWS, so it's not even apples by apples comparison here. This is just an Oracle support or license. This is a fully managed Postgres database on AWS. So we're really looking at about 88% off. So PostgreSQL support, a key thing that we're working on right now as we speak. I think that the first version of Colline, where we can say that we definitely support Postgres for everybody, might be early next year. But what we're really looking for is one or two customers who are happy to partner with us to develop this. We can do all the testing that we can, but it's really useful to work in partnership with a customer and really get that assurance that things are working well. So if this is something that interests you, if you want to save whatever it is, almost more than £60,000 per annum, then get in touch with us. Of course, your database might be a lot bigger than this, in which case the savings are considerably more. We're also looking at other ways to make Colline more amenable to the cloud, and that includes the way that we provide it to you. So today, of course, if you're familiar, VERMEG provides new releases of Colline as an installation package. That doubles as an upgrade package, of course. So you simply run that binary and it will upgrade your version of Colline or install a brand new version of Colline. I'm just leaving off all the documentation and release notes, etc., and just sticking to the primary technical delivery. It's this installation package, but in the future this might change. So we can see a trend in the world that Kubernetes is becoming the almost the global standard abstraction layer that sits above your hardware. It's almost a standard abstraction over infrastructure as a service. I get there are some products that do a similar sort of thing, but all of the major cloud providers obviously have a managed Kubernetes service. Google, of course, wrote Kubernetes, or at least started writing it. AWS, I think, begrudgingly offered a Kubernetes service. They didn't want to, but I think they kind of felt they had to. They didn't want to because, of course, it makes them less lock-in. People are looking at Kubernetes as a way of avoiding lock-in to a cloud. You're seeing a lot of hybrid cloud strategies and products that can join together Kubernetes clusters, maybe some of it on-prem, some of it on one cloud, some of it on another cloud. And of course, Kubernetes goes hand in hand with Docker, or as it's more rightfully called, Open Container Initiative. So in the future, we're looking at providing clean as container images. So that would be basically one or more container images for Colline and for the optimizer and for other bits and pieces as we go down a path of pulling apart Colline into things that can scale independently. You'll also note here these illustrative Helm charts and Terraform IAC. This is another thing that we will be producing to help ourselves, and what helps us in this case will help you. Helm charts are a way of deploying a multi-container or multi-pod application onto a Kubernetes cluster. So this is something we're using ourselves internally within our own testing today. We can provide illustrative Helm charts to you, our customers, so you can see how we've done it. I don't think you'd want to just copy it and use it as is, but it gives you a head start. It shows you how we're doing it, so you can sort of adapt it from that point. Same thing goes with Terraform. So I think we'll see a lot more of this from software vendors. It's not just about, the application code contained in the containers, but also the kind of the infrastructure, or in this case, it would be an illustrative infrastructure. Terraform, for those of you who don't know, is another kind of serves the same sort of purpose as Kubernetes, being a kind of an abstraction layer over different public clouds. It allows you to describe your requisite infrastructure in sort of documentation form, and then build that infrastructure on different sort of targets. So again, if we provide this to you, we think that that's going to be very useful. We're even looking at Kubernetes operators, but I think that's just a trend we've got our eye on rather than anything else. So very interested to hear your feedback here. These are some ideas we've had internally to help these things that we have to build ourselves to offer a kind of a next generation Colline SaaS platform. There are also things that might help you if you say no thank you very much to the SaaS offer, but you've got your own cloud strategy that you're trying to work through. So the industry trends, I warn you this might pop up again. So cloud is a given. Let's go through them one by one. So take your collateral management platform off your premise by moving to SaaS. So that's what it's all about today, really. This is an offering that's going to be available very soon. If you're looking to cut costs, if you're looking to cut complexity, if you're looking to reduce the sort of liability side of your balance sheet, you'd be most welcome to take our offer and have Colline run by us on your behalf. We think that we can run Colline more cheaply and better than you can, because we'll be having hopefully dozens of customers. Insufficient cloud skills hampering adoption. Let's suppose that you weren't interested in the SaaS service, but you're very interested in cloud. Maybe you've got some sort of cloud policy that's at the whole bank level. Maybe you've cut some special deal with a particular cloud provider or not. We can help you with that by distribution by container image and our illustrative infrastructure as code. Gives you a bit of a head start. It means that you don't have to write these things from scratch. We'll have kind of worked out the problems for you in a way, and you'll be able to go through it and use that as a guide. Cost constraints are tighter than ever. Well, we talked about Postgres, and that can save you many thousands. So I hope that that's quite an exciting development for many of you. Seeking rapid business value without massive projects. So you're already using Colline. You can optimize your investment there. You don't need to. You can keep using it in our SaaS platform. It'll be the same Colline. You'll be on getting the regular updates. All of your operational procedures will be the same. The connectivity will be the same, and you'll be able to concentrate your scarce resources on the quick wins, on the things that really develop fast business value for your internal customers. Building on as a service platform to concentrate on local value or specific value for you. Colline's heading towards being a suite of collateral management services, much more that direction than an application, a standalone application. It's more of a suite of services, APIs for everything, so that we can run as a genuine sort of engine model. The idea is you can use that as your foundation. Take that sort of, well, I don't think it's really too commoditized, but take that as a service, as an engine, and concentrate when you're faced with a particular business problem on the 20% or even less that really makes your business problem a problem. That's it for today. I hope this was a good overview of our SaaS offering. I haven't seen any Q&A, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Perhaps I covered everything very well. We'll give a few moments for some Q&A, but also we'll be proactively reaching out to many of you to understand what you thought, what your initial thoughts are, and whether you did in fact have any questions that you couldn't think of at the time. Just had a question about Terraform. Well, of course you can Google Terraform, but as I said, it's basically the way it kind of works. Terraform is that you describe the servers and say all the infrastructure like servers, load balancers, scaling groups, etc. You put that into a document that can then be source controlled, and then that can be provided to a Terraform engine, which builds that infrastructure using the cloud native services. So it's by providing this to you, it's a good way to you to use that or adapt it for your specific needs. Question on how many customers we currently have on the cloud. So we currently have 5 customers on the cloud, but we're in conversations with one's in progress to migrate from being on-prem to being on cloud. We're in conversations with 2 more who are new customers who will be moving to the cloud. So that's a total of say 7 by the end of the year, and of course we want more. Just one more question, just 1 second. Just had to work out how to see them. Which business streams cover a SaaS solution? Will you sell them module-wise? So the licensing of Colline will be the same, so module-wise, function by function. There'll be some add-on cost to cover the fact that we'll be running the whole platform. So the price will depend on what you use Colline for, which is presumably what you'd be using it for today. Perhaps you want to buy more modules from us, and then extra price to cover the fact that we're running it on your behalf, and there's extra things like the market data I mentioned. Another question, how different is V15 to the new version? No different. So I mean, V15, it'll go in lockstep, right? So the first version that we'll have in this SaaS platform will be, say, 21.1, but then 21.1 will be both sold to on-prem customers in the same old way as it always was, under just normal kind of license, and also will be used within our platform, within our SaaS platform. So we're not forking Colline. We're not having one version for on-prem licensed customers and another version for ourselves. It'll be the same Colline. Another question about having separate instances across regions. This is not really possible. A lot of you are global customers who trade in all around the world and have no downtime. Colline has always worked to enable that mode of business, but it's also always worked from a single installation. So what you have to do is put your installation somewhere that's, well, literally in the middle of all of your customers so that you can have a reasonable latency. It's really that the limiting factor is the latency between your users and Colline, the Colline environment, but AWS can make that, or our cloud provider can make that easy for you, because you can have direct connections to the cloud provider on which we'll have Colline. You can have VPNs with quality of service guarantees, and also the movement to Angular means that latency is not as big a problem as it was on the current UI of Colline. The current UI of Colline is a server-side rendering, so the whole page is rendered on the server and then shipped out to the user's browser. In the Angular world, you download all of the assets once, and the only data that's shipping across between Colline and the user is the API response. So it's a long answer, but latency won't be so much of a problem for the new UI, and you'll be able to pick your region. So pick a region that's close to everybody. Okay. I think there are no new questions, so we'll wrap it up there. So thank you for your time, everybody. We'll be getting in touch to get your feedback. Thanks, everyone.